Welcome to the second video in the series on paying down our mortgage faster. In the last video, we built this spreadsheet, this tool that allows us to analyze loan pay down strategies. And in this video, we're actually going to use the tool to assess some of the strategies that I found online. If you didn't see the previous video, I encourage you to go watch that so that you understand the tool that we're about to use. And also learn a lot about the concepts behind it. It was kind of a good primer education to real estate loan financing and kind of amortizing finance structures in general. Before we kind of dive in and start testing these theories, I will say if you are keen to learn more about investing, finance, business, marketing, digital education, businesses, affiliate marketing and such, I encourage you to subscribe to my channel. Basically, my channel is all about the critical education to learn the skills in this world that can set you free, that can allow you to live a really great life. I've been super blessed to get to live a pretty great life where I haven't actually had a job since I was 16 years old. I had one job for 3 weeks when I was 16, realized I wasn't really a job guy, and I've been able to support myself ever since. And in the last 10 years, done particularly well with digital marketing and real estate. And again, my channel is just all education and training about those things so that as many people can have what I have in the modern digital economy, which is just freedom, flexibility, and the choice to live the life that they want. Let's get into using this tool to analyze different prepayment suggestions and strategies. I went online, I did some research, and I think it was a Dave Ramsey article is where I found a lot of this stuff that was like about paying off your mortgage faster. And I pulled in some stuff I read from other places and basically came up with kind of the 6 main things that I found online as far as tips and strategies for paying off your loan faster. They were kind of vague. They were like, you can do this, and it would sort of just spout these kind of random numbers that seem to pull out of thin air. Like, it can save you up to X number of years on your mortgage, which up to doesn't really tell us much, and what mortgage and what purchase price, what down payment, what interest rate. It wasn't specific. And there was, again, not really a tool that I found online that you could use to actually calculate these numbers in detail. That's why we built the spreadsheet that we built. That said, as I was testing these theories, I did realize that technically the spreadsheet that we built didn't actually account for all of the strategies. So I'm thinking I might go back and actually expand the spreadsheet, make it even more robust, add a couple different layers. But then again, it might make it unwieldy and overly complicated to do so. So for purposes of this video, I just went ahead and duplicated the spreadsheet and tweaked it to allow for some different scenarios that we're going to test. And I'll share all this with you in the shared templates. But again, I may go back and build a one spreadsheet to rule them all, partly just for the challenge of doing so. But this will work for now. So that said, let me pull up for you the 6 strategies that I found online related to paying off your loan faster. The first one, and this was the first one that kind of right out of the gate broke the spreadsheet, was starting with a 15-year mortgage, basically restructuring the entire loan to be based around 15 years rather than 30. The next strategy was BiWeekly Payments, which is kind of a sneaky little strategy that you can use to kind of shove an extra monthly payment in every year. Basically what you do is you take half your mortgage amount and pay it every 2 weeks. And since most of us are kind of wired to feel like a month is about 4 weeks, now paying it every 2 weeks feels like we're paying about the same amount of money. We're paying half the money twice as often. But in reality, since months have more like a little over 30 days on average, by paying half the money every 14 days, we're actually paying it off a little bit faster. And if you do the math, 52 weeks in a year, that's 26 biweekly payments in a year. If you pay half the amount 26 times, that's almost the equivalent of, or that is the equivalent of making 13 payments rather than 12. So it's kind of a way to sneak an extra payment in each year without really feeling the burn too much. So biweekly payments is something that a lot of people will suggest in the industry is kind of a low friction way to get some extra money into your loan. And then we'll look at the strategy of making an extra payment each quarter. And that has there's something interesting about it that I'll show you. And it's kind of maybe a less burdensome way for some people. Basically, for people who can't do a 15-year mortgage, making an extra payment each quarter can accomplish a lot of the same advantage, but without some of the same pressure. And we'll talk about that scenario. And then there's some smaller things you can do that, small things that can have big implications. If you take your eating out budget, there's some data I found about the average American and the money that they spend on takeout and eating out, and what would happen. I said, well, what would happen if we put that back into our loan? And then also coffee, believe it or not, $3 a day per person on average in the United States, just on coffee. So for a married couple, that's $6 a day on average, $180 a month. Thought we'd take a look at that. And then I want to look and say, what happens if we take our food budget and our coffee budget and we discipline ourselves and we put that into our loan? We'll look at that too. So those are the 6 strategies, and we'll be able to test with this spreadsheet. So first thing I did was I duplicated it to this 15-year tab, went and cut the payments in half. You'll see that I stopped the periods at 180. It was 360. Kept all the terms the same. Loan amount, interest rate, term is 15 years now. Let's get rid of keep the prepayment at 0. We're not even testing that. So really what we're doing right now is just comparing, and actually let me put that to 0 too. Basically we're comparing it looks like I was playing with some of the numbers. Let's put these back, apples to apples. So if we have a $200,000 loan at 6% over 30 years and a $200,000 loan at 6% over 15 years, and we compare the total payments on the 30-year note of $431,000, of which $231,000 is interest. On the 15-year, we have about $300,000 in payments, of which $103,000 is interest. That's a pretty big difference, right? The difference between 431 and 303, what's that, $128,000 that we save by compressing our term to 15 years versus 30. Now, obviously, your payment does jump up from $1,200 to $1,687, almost $1,700. The payment goes up about $500 a month, but at the end of 15 years, you're free. You've paid $128,000 less than you would have paid on a 30-year note. Incredibly powerful. Not surprisingly, of all of these strategies, starting with a 15-year mortgage is the most powerful way to save money. But what I do realize is that a lot of people say, well, I can't afford the higher payment. And so the classic response to that would be, well, buy less house. But the classic rebuttal to that, given the world that we live in now, would be like, yo, real estate's expensive. Even in smaller cities, even in kind of considered middle America, less expensive markets, you still need $250,000, maybe even $300,000 to get a decent house to raise a family in. And people say, well, if I'm going to buy a $150,000 house so that I can buy it on a 15-year note, I'm going to end up living 50 miles outside of town, and now I'm going to have all kinds of time loss and transportation costs to get to work, and it's just not feasible for my life. And so they feel kind of stuck. They say, I gotta buy, a certain amount of house, and if I can't afford a 15-year note, I guess that's it. I'm screwed. I got to do a 30-year. Well, then we'll come back to that. Again, I have kind of an offset for that scenario, but as a starting point, we do see that it's undeniable that a 15-year note saves you a ton of money. Again, on a $200,000 loan, you're going to pay $128,000 less in total payments with a 15-year note versus a 30 at a 6% interest rate. Now, let's look at biweekly payments. Again, this was another thing that a little bit broke the spreadsheet. Because it changes the number of payment periods. So I duplicated the 15-year spreadsheet, and I went in and recalculated all of the payments around, as you'll see, 26 terms per year. So the interest rate is where it was before. It was 6% divided by 12 per month. Now it's 6% divided by 26 per payment period, because there's 26 payment periods in a year. And then similarly on the term, there are now 15 times 26 terms or payment periods per year, whereas before it was 15 times 12, once a month. So I had to rebuild it and then obviously increase the number of payments dramatically. And then the one other thing, and actually let me delete a few of these payments and I will show you something pretty interesting. Get down to where the loan is paid off down to zero. And I will show you something interesting. So if all you did was restructure the loan to be around 26 payments per month, or sorry, 26 payments per year, which is a biweekly payment every 2 weeks for 52 weeks, it actually lowers your payment to less than half of what the payment was before. The payment was $16.87. The concept of biweekly payments is to make half your payment every 2 weeks. So if you restructure it as 26 payments per year, it drops the payment to less than half. So what we want to do is we want to say, okay, what's half of $1687.71? That's easy. We'll just divide that by 2. Half is $843.86. So basically, we want to pay a little bit extra each payment period to get our loan to be that amount. So I did the math. We take $778.30 plus, and the amount is $65.56 extra per period, and that puts us at $843.86, which again, to double check, is half. That's a half payment every 2 weeks. So we're paying $778.30 in structured payment plus an extra $65.56 in prepayment to get to the amount of $843.86, which is essentially a half payment every 2 weeks. So with that, if we do that, we actually see that, and this reduced, the reduced row here, this is what's going to give us the actual numbers in this scenario. And basically we find that our total payments in that scenario are $292,000, call it $293,000. So if we compare that to a 15-year monthly payment, it's $303,000, almost $304,000. This is $292,000. So we actually save another $11,000 by going to biweekly payments on a 15-year mortgage at a $200,000 loan amount. So again, it's obviously not as big as switching from a 30-year to a 15-year, but still an extra $10,000. And also on the 15-year note, it was going to pay it off at, let's see, January 1st, 2036. This pays it off November 2034. That's the other thing I did, was I structured the payment periods to be 14-day intervals rather than monthly. So it actually pays it off over a year faster too, saves you 10, almost 11 grand, and pays it off over a year faster. So definitely some power in doing bi-weekly payments. And then the other strategy that we talked about here is making an extra payment each quarter. So let's say you're in the category of, hey, I want to do, like, I need to finance $200,000. Like, let's say this is you, it's a $250,000 house, put 20% down. You're like, I got to finance $200,000. And I just can't guarantee that I can afford $1,700 a month. So for me to do a 15-year payment term and lock myself into almost $1,700 a month, it's too risky. I don't know that I can afford it. Then you could take this strategy and say, okay, let me just lock myself into a $1,200 payment, but I'm going to try to make an extra monthly payment every 3 months. One extra payment per quarter, which would be we'll set the prepayment equal to the payment amount. So that would be an $1,199.10 prepayment every 3 months, right? And so if you did that, it actually would reduce your total payments down to $316,000, which is only $13,000 more than a 15-year note. So rather than locking yourself into an almost $1,700 a month payment, you could stay with the $1,200 a month payments as long as your loan allows for prepayments, if you can come up with enough money to make one additional payment per quarter, which is going to cost you about $400 a month, but it's got more cushion than having to be locked in every month to $1,700. You could say, well, maybe you're in sales, maybe you have a good month, and you say, okay, this is the month I'm going to take the excess and put it to the quarterly payment. That way, if you have a month where you can't make the $1,700, or in this case, you can't make the extra prepayment, you're not going to lose the house. You're not going to, be delinquent on the mortgage. So this This strategy can be a way that can almost accomplish the same thing as getting to a 15-year mortgage, but give you more latitude, more flexibility if your income is a little more irregular and you're not sure you're going to be able to make that higher payment amount reliably. This gives you a little more wiggle room, but can still get you pretty close. So very cool strategy there. And then let's say, okay, what if I just stop eating out, right? Let's look at a 30-year mortgage with just $100 prepayment every month. Basically, I take my eat out and my dine out and takeout budget and allocate it to my mortgage. I'm basically going to save, look at that, $48,000 in payments over the life of my mortgage, a little over $49,000 in interest, and I now pay off the mortgage in August 2045 rather than January 2051. So almost 4.5 years faster to pay off the loan just by taking some sack lunches, eating a breakfast bar, whatever you got to do to make that small change. Again, average Americans spending $100 extra on food per month, just eating out and takeout. And honestly, that's $100 is conservative. I think about my family, we'll spend $100 on a meal just to go out, and not even a fancy meal. I got 4 kids. I mean, coming up with an extra $100 a month out of your food budget to save almost $50,000 on a $200,000 loan over the life of the loan is really very conservative. And even coffee at $3 a day for people's Starbucks, that's $90 per month per person. That's $45,000 over the life of your loan just to brew your own coffee. Never mind if it's 2 people, you're saving $75,000. What if it was 2 people eating out or eating in instead of eating out? Now you're at $79,000. What if it was 2 people not eating out and not drinking their coffee? That would be $380 that a couple per month could put towards their loan, save $115,000 in interest over the course of a loan. Very, very powerful. Even on a 15-year note, if you could, even if it was just one person on a 15-year note, $200,000 loan, paying $180, that's your food and your coffee budget. No, I say 180, it'd be 190. Save yourself over $17,000 in interest. So, very, very powerful, these strategies. But again, we see that the 15-year mortgage is the most powerful. Bi-weekly payments can give you a little extra leverage on top of that. Making an extra payment each quarter is powerful enough of a strategy to take a 30-year and almost make it as powerful as a 15-year. And then this is more discretionary stuff with the food and even the coffee and kind of other indulgence budget that you can do that has massive implications. Again, showing the power and flexibility of our awesome spreadsheet that we built, which I encourage you to play with. And if you didn't go through the first video, the one before this, then you have not experienced for yourself the joy and the magic and the awesomeness of building this spreadsheet for yourself. It is that much more fun to play with when you actually build it yourself and you really, really understand the concepts behind it. And that's probably a good note for me to end on in terms of this conversation, and just to encourage you that, I was a high school dropout who played jazz piano in college and was broke all through his 20s. It doesn't matter what you did for a living. It doesn't matter where you went to school. It doesn't matter what you studied. I didn't even finish high school, although because I played music, I was gratefully able to get into college. But even then, I wouldn't have paid for it. Thankfully, I didn't rack up student debt. I got a scholarship because I played piano. But it doesn't matter. None of it matters. All that matters in the world we live in now is that you commit yourself to learning the skills that matter. And there's skills now. There's a lot of skills that can help you get a job, keep a job, stay employed, stay employable in an industry, and those are all cool. There's a lot of skills you can learn that can help you make money for other people and power your company's stock price and your earnings and make the CEO rich. And then there's certain skills you can learn that can set you free and change your life and make you rich. And stuff like that is what I talk about in my channel. Again, a call to subscribe if you want to learn more about that kind of stuff. For myself, I've been doing this pretty much since I was 28 years old, and realized being a musician was just making me poor and depressed and I love music, but frankly, I resented it because it was making my life so hard. And you know, I have a lot better relationship with music now than I did then because I get to play it whenever I want. I get to play whatever I want. And I don't have all the stress associated with choosing it as a livelihood. So, you know, I encourage you to just really commit to the skills that, you know, again, this is talking about real estate. I do digital marketing. I do real estate. And digital marketing breaks into a couple different business models. I do affiliate marketing. I have 2 e-commerce stores right now. I've done multiple e-com businesses over the years. I've owned a digital agency. I've done software. I've built software. I've promoted software. I've created my own products. Obviously, I do content marketing. I do YouTube marketing. The internet and digital marketing and real estate too, they're just so powerful. And they're so egalitarian. They don't care who you are, where you live, who you love, what you look like, how old you are. And they just give you that freedom and that flexibility in this world to choose your own path. And I will say from experience, I believe that being able to choose your own path is the greatest gift we can give ourselves. So I appreciate your time. I hope this has been valuable for you. Hope that you've learned something. Hope that you're feeling empowered, not only to maybe pay off your mortgage faster or improve your life with sound thinking in terms of real estate, but just in general to forge your path in this world and backfill with skills. That's what I'll say from experience, is just always be backfilling with skills. There's no amount of knowledge that's enough or sufficient to have as good a life as you possibly could. A better life is always a combination of knowledge and network away. Every change, every enhancement you possibly want to make is going to come down to either learning new skills or meeting new people, or very often both. And that said, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. If you want to check out some of my training programs where I also teach other things and can help you with both learning skills and meeting new people, I'll put some links below in the description. But most of all, I just appreciate your time watching this video. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought. If this was useful to you, I love feedback. I love interaction with my audience. And again, I thank you for your time. I'll see you on the next video. Take care.